let's get into the Money in the Bank review. 2024 Money in the Bank. This was a premium live event from Toronto, Canada, Scotiabank Arena. Attendance was 18,555. Corey Graves, Michael Cole on the call. It started off with the men's Money in the Bank ladder match, and
after a 2-hour pre-show,
after
where they didn't have any
matches,
and they struggled to fill time. They were the commentator. I forget her name. I'm so sorry. Either she didn't have water or she was talking so much to fill time, her voice became raspy.
You know what? I usually wait till the end of everything to kind of give the grading of the show and what I thought of it and all that, but I'm going to give it at the start, and then we can go and explain things as it was. I was not a fan of this pay-per-view.
Did you watch it?
I was a fan of the work that there were some great bumps. I don't understand a lot of this.
That's what you said earlier.
I don't understand a lot of the stories. I don't understand a lot of the decisions. It was, I don't know. It just felt like it was up in the air as far as what they were going to do. Okay, let's go to the first match, the Money in the Bank ladder match. Drew McIntyre would win that match.
Okay, I will say this. I don't know if it was just everybody didn't like what was going to happen, or if everybody was off all night, because everybody was watching all night, but it just did not feel right. Like, it felt like they didn't know what they were doing almost. Like, the spots, I don't know. I feel like they didn't. I feel like nobody talked about their matches on this show beforehand. And that, I don't know if it's because they're hot, they think they can get away with it because the crowd's going to react no matter what, but they just didn't. It felt like no one tried as hard as they needed to. I mean,
well, there was a good bump in this match. Andrade, Carmelo Hayes, Andrade was a sunset flip powerbomb right onto Hayes, and they took some hard falls. Like I said, there was some good work, but Drew McIntyre would win the match.
Andrade and Carmelo were the only good parts of the match. There was some cool Gable spots, but once they took Gable out of the match and you knew he wasn't going to win, it kind of dejected you from the match, because CM Punk should have cost, or not even Punk, it should have been AJ Lee costing McIntyre the match, because we've had Punk cost him 3 times in a row already.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. We'll talk about Sammy and Breakker later, but with Drew McIntyre winning this match, Damian Priest and Seth Rollins would have a World Heavyweight title match a little bit later. Drew McIntyre would come in, cash in. I'll talk about what I think was supposed to happen here in just a second. But Drew McIntyre comes in, cashes in that night. CM Punk comes in, screws McIntyre out of the title. So you've just wasted an entire year's worth of possible stories. You wasted an entire match that you had a little bit earlier. That was 16 minutes and 30 seconds that you wasted.
Talent that could have been developed. They talked on the pre-show about how this is so big because it can elevate a mid-card guy to a world title. Example, The Miz.
Yeah, or I was thinking Chad Gable. He's got a great story going on right now. He could take that title, or take that belt, or
take
the briefcase, cash it in there. But why did they? It just didn't make sense to me. This is a theme throughout the night for me.
Here's what should have happened. Because I'm going to get into Sammy and Braun Breaker real quick so I can talk about what should have happened. Because Sammy and Braun Breaker was a 50-50 match. If you've seen that interview where John Cena's talking about SummerSlam 2014, him and Lesnar, where he says, this shouldn't be a 50-50 match because we're going to waste all of Lesnar's momentum. So he went out there and he beat me up because that was how we were going to push him to the moon. And Sammy went out there and basically was Sammy Hogan.
Yeah.
He took 3 Braun Breaker spears after they took weeks to build up that spear, and then just popped up Helluva Kick 1, 2, 3.
Well, I mean, that was not a Sammy call. That was a backstage call, and again, that's indicative of this pay-per-view. That's indicative of the way the stories have been since they've stopped. Okay, this is a bigger thing. People will say, oh, they never saw All Elite as a threat. Yes, they did. They started doing all the things that All Elite was doing. They started having pay-per-views on days except Sunday. They started having media scrums. They started having more wrestling. And then when they got this momentum from All Elite and they took it, just like you said, they've slacked off. And we're seeing the culmination of that. We're seeing it in shows just like this.
Well, you didn't even let me finish, but what I was trying to say was what should have happened is Chad Gable wins the Money in the Bank. Braun Breaker gets a huge, decisive, clean, dominating victory over Sami Zayn. Chad Gable cashes in, which IC title shouldn't be second if you're doing that. But Chad Gable cashes in and beats Braun Breaker and screws him out of the title because all week he's been screwed out of matches by DQs, interferences. Not all week, but like the whole last month. That's why he's in this match, because he keeps getting screwed out of his matches. So he should have been screwed out of the title by Chad Gable, who is all egotistical, all in on himself, doesn't care about other people. Would have been amazing. Braun and Chad would have had a great feud.
Yep, but again,
Rollins should have won the world title to build Rollins and Gunther.
I think Rollins was supposed to win.
I think that too. I think
Rollins was supposed to win. Drew McIntyre was supposed to cash in on Rollins, have CM Punk come in, but they called an audible because a referee missed the count. He counted and he did. Where was the shoulder coming up? Priest didn't even look like he was trying to move.
A lot of people were saying Priest got rocked or got a stinger, but he was clearly talking the whole, like, right after he didn't kick out, he was saying, "Oh shit, I'm sorry." Like, I think they were planning on that being a false finish and then going in with Rollins doing a win and then Drew cashing in right away, so we get Drew Rollins again.
Now,
unless they were trying to end there. I mean, there's something messed up and something was inaudible, and Drew's entrance didn't feel on time at all. None of it just felt good. It looked wrong. The whole match was just a TV match up until the false finish, which was supposed to be a big move, that Falcon Arrow sequence, which was a decent sequence.
Yeah, there's no differentiating between television matches and pay-per-view matches, really, when it comes to WWE, except in things like Money in the Bank, where you are expecting to see hard bumps and all that. But speaking of Money in the Bank, the women's Money in the Bank
which should have main evented the show. I mean, it's a Money in the Bank pay-per-view, is it not? Why are we main eventing with the Bloodline, especially because the best match of the show is what we're about to talk about?
Yeah, Tiffany Stratton would win. She would defeat Chelsea Green, Io Sky, Lyra Valkyria, Naomi, and Zoe Stark. I was watching Collision, and you sent me a text. You said they killed Chelsea Green, but Tiffany Stratton won.
Yeah, and if you look on Twitter, you can go to Chelsea Green's Twitter, and she tweets, "I could have died," because they threw her really hard through that table.
Oh man! Speaking of throwing people hard, was it like when Jungle Boy threw Marco's stunt into that turnbuckle pad, used him like a lawn dart?
About the same. Yeah.
Oh my goodness!
she hit her head hard, and they should have had the table set up on top of each other, but they just had them side by side.
Yeah. But that leads us to the main event. Bloodline would defeat Cody Rhodes, Kevin Owens, Randy Orton. Solo would pin. Who was it? Cody Rhodes? Solo would pin Cody Rhodes in this one. So that
was a glorified TV match where they wasted time until the last 5 minutes. Even the Mania Night 1 match with The Rock and Roman versus Cody, and that match was better.
Yeah, this... Now, granted, I did not watch the last two matches. I was watching Collision and all that, but the whole pay-per-view for me... Okay, when Ethan Page, I saw that interview where he says, things are chaotic in All Elite, and WWE's a well-oiled machine. If that's a well-oiled machine, give me chaos. You know, give me Collision, give me Dynamite over that.